Hey Fox Bandit, what's going on?
Hey Jerry, I just made a holiday ornament and I wanted to show people the process of how to make a grabbable object. I figured this was on theme for the holidays.
What are you gonna start with?
I'm gonna pull out a sphere. We're gonna keep this pretty basic. And I'll go ahead and keep it large. I'm also gonna pull out a cylinder. And because we may want a hook, I'm going to pull out this half donut shape. Is it called a torus? This half donut shape that's like a torus and a... Well, actually this is all I'll need. So we'll have a sphere, a cylinder, and this little torus shape. And the sphere, this can be a very basic ornament shape. The cylinder though, I'm going to duplicate it and resize this one and flatten it. And I'm going to turn on my magnet so I can snap and find the center. So to grab that, I'm going to grab the bottom center point here and then find the center of the top and try to keep it flat as possible. If it's too big, you can grab it with both cursors and move them closer together to make it smaller. Then I'm going to grab that again to snap it. Now you can see there's this space here where it's not touching. For the ornament, we probably don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight it again. And if you see the blue square, you may not see it from your perspective, but I'm going to click that and just pull it down. If you push, so I'm going to grab the blue square first. I'm going to push the little thumbstick forward. That way I can move it more slowly and then pull this down to where I want it to be until it goes into sphere. That way there's no space in between. And now you can kind of see it formed the overall shape of the ornament plus the little cap where the hook's going to come out. And that's where I take this other sphere. So we're going to grab it with both cursors, move them closer together, shrink it till I get about as small as I want it. And then I'm going to grab that little center dot on the bottom again and snap it to the center of the cylinder below. Then we're going to grab the little blue square on top. Oops. We're going to highlight it so I don't accidentally grab the wrong shape. And then I'm going to grab the little blue square on top. And I like to move the toggle forward again just to keep it slow where it's easier to control. And I'm going to pull it up to about as long as I want the hook to be. Let go. And then I'm going to take this little guy and shrink it down. So on this part, it's a little more tricky because as you can see with this little shape, there's no perfect snapping point where you can get the thickness of this to match this. So I'm going to just get as close as I can, but what I'll start with is you can grab this middle dot on the one side and snap that to the edge of the cylinder. That way you can get it lined up about as close as you can. And then what I like to do is I'll highlight and I'll grab the little red square and use that same forward toggle to make it slow. And I'll just adjust it as close as I can. And then you can go through each side and do the same thing. You can do things to where shapes go into each other. However, to avoid Z-ripping, you may want to avoid that.
Yeah, the flashing.
Yeah, the flashing, otherwise known as Z-ripping. You can see there's still a little bit of the edge here where they don't perfectly match up, and that could be the sizing and the shape. But if it's close enough, it shouldn't be too noticeable when we color this. And like I said, this is just one way to do the hook.
Looks good.
But yeah, when you back up, you can see the overall shape. It's a basic Christmas ornament, right? Now, if we want to color it, we're going to pull up the menu, hit the paintbrush, and let's say we want the shiny red ornament, which is pretty typical, you know. You can pick the shade of red you want by sliding up and down the manual color line. If you go to the bottom, it's going to be more vivid, and to the right, it's going to be brighter. I'm going to choose metal, which it was already on metal, but I'm going to choose metal to give it that shine. And then on here you can see the 48% and the 50%. This is the 48 is the metal material percentage. If you want it to be extra shiny, you can move that up. And texture is referring to these squares down here. If we want it to have a little bit of a shattered or fractured look, this is called fractured. I like to use it on stones most of the time, but it can be fancy for other things that you just want to add a little sparkle to. So I'm going to select fractured, and we're going to turn that up, and that's going to make the object shinier. I'm going to keep it on small because we're going to shrink this down to ornament size anyway. You can color it simply by clicking the object, but one thing I like to do is actually click away from it in space first, and you can see this little glow and trail, and then I'll bring it into the object.
Whoa.
That way I don't accidentally move it while I'm coloring it. And now you can see it's got this kind of metallic shine to it.
I like that red color.
Yeah. So now that we have that, we can decide, okay, do we want this cap to be silver or gold? Doesn't have to be either of those, but those are typical Christmas colors. So that's what we're going with. In this case, I'm going to do gold because I'm partial to it. Gold, we're going to keep it on metal. You can find that color by sliding it up to the yellowy orange section, and you can pick it in here. Gold is one of those colors where it covers a lot of shades, so you just pick one you like. I tend to like to go for the lighter, so we're gonna bring it up towards the white, and then just gonna do the same thing, highlight first, and then bring it through each object. Now,
Nice.
it does have that fractured look that I have on the ornament piece, so if you don't want this texture, if you want it to look more smooth, then what I'll do is I'll bring up that same color menu. We're going to scroll down to the texture boxes, and the one I like to use for smooth is either this waves texture where it looks kind of like the light from a pool, or the sandy texture. And the reason why is I can click on either of these and move it to large. That way it's going to expand the texture pattern and then bring it through. So you see it's very minimal lines and texture work in it, and it keeps it more of that super smooth metallic look. And now you have an ornament.
Whoa. Looks a little bit large. How do you resize it?
So to resize it, what you can do, or the safest way to do it without accidentally bumping an object, is you're going to click to the side of it where you aren't touching anything, and you'll see the minus on the left and the plus on the right. I'm going to move the toggle to the right to grow the cursor, and then you see this blue highlighted ball, and you're going to bring it through the whole object. You can, once you have everything selected, you can resize it from here, or you can group the object first. I'm going to go ahead and group it first. So first I'm going to put the little hand inside, and you'll see a new set of options pop up. We're going to pick the left one. That's going to group the objects. And now we don't have to worry about things accidentally shifting on us whenever we're growing or reshaping it. Now that I grouped the object, you can click outside it to unhighlight it. And when you bring it back in, you can see that this is now considered an entire whole object. And you can move it around. And you can grow it by selecting with both cursors, moving far away, or shrink it by moving it smaller. Now, Cherry Life, if you want to move right here, I'll use you as a size reference. So if we want to make this to a more normal size compared to a person's body, this might fit in the palm of your hand. Sorry if I'm moving you.
You're not.
There you go. So it's about the size of an apple, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I like this size, so we'll keep it at that. Now, right now, you can't really interact with it because we haven't made this an interactive object. So if we want to be able to hold it, carry it, move it around, first you're going to put the cursor in the object, move the toggle towards the 3 dots, and that's going to bring up this menu for the object itself. Right now it's called Group. If you want to rename it, you can highlight it and change the name to whatever you like. I'm just going to call it Ornament. And you can change visibility, light, shadow, collidability. In this case, we want to keep all of these on. So under motion, you're going to see it's already on none, which is the default setting for an object. To change it to something that Cherry Life or another person can actually grab and hold, we're going to select interactive. Under this, you can see grabbable, physics, and both. Grabbable makes it so that Cherry Life can grab it. Physics is also going to make it so it will fall as it actually has gravity. Both will give it both of those features. So I'm going to leave it on grabbable for now. That way it doesn't fall first. And let's see what happens.
Nice.
There you go. So you see, without the physics, Cherry Life cannot throw it because there is no gravity to the object. Do we want to add the physics?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to re-highlight the box here. It'll just move it back to its original spot. And then we're going to bring up the menu again by toggling to those 3 dots. And we're going to move down to where you see interaction. And I'm going to select both. Now you see that the ornament just fell, but now Cherry Life is able to juggle it if he wants. You can almost play catch with it. I guess you kind of can, if you're quick enough.
Nice.
If you like to create more of these ornaments without having to do each one individually, you can duplicate them. I'm going to turn it off the physics for now and put it back to grabbable. That way it's not falling while I'm trying to work with this. I'm going to move this closer to the object, and as you can see, if you toggle to the right, that's going to put it on duplicate and change your cursor to green. That's a good indication that you're on the right setting. You can grab any of the arrows. I'm going to grab the one to the right by selecting, and you're just going to drag it to the side. And now you have a replica of the first one. If you want to create more without having to do that every time, you're going to use your left-hand controller. And you can see a similar duplicate button, except it's called array. And you'll press that to the right, and it's going to create another object within the same distance of the previous. And you can keep doing that until you feel like you have enough. And now we have duplicates of these ornaments, and they are each made exactly as the first one was. If you would like to change the colors of each ornament to customize, you can do so by bringing up the same menu. Grab whatever color you'd like. So we're gonna do a bright green just for fun. And when I hold it close, you can see it gives you a preview of the color before you actually select it. So if you like it, you can hold down the highlight, pull it forward, and just touch the part that you want to color. And for fun, I'm just going to change the colors of all of these. Which, by the way, you can speed up this part if you want to or something. Now that we completed a few different colors of ornaments, we can now play with any of these. If you go back into preview mode, since I did not turn off the interactive feature, you can still grab each one. If you want to add the physics back to these objects, you'll just need to go back into build mode, and you'll have to go to the menu of each item and toggle that onto both. Okay. Now this is a slightly slower process. One thing we could have done to shorten that if we'd wanted to is if I had left the interaction on both on the original object before I duplicated everything, each one would have had both already set to it. And that's just for future reference. Okay. Now we have a whole bunch of objects.
Hey, you throwing them at me?
Yeah.
Okay. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year. I hope you enjoyed the build. Oh, I missed. When I click outside it, that's okay, I'm ignoring it. Okay, what's the word? Basic setting, normal
Basic?
setting, default, that's the word.
Oh,
Okay.
default, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to move your controller close to the object. And if you toggle to the right,